Or we stopped somewhere at number 1616. Yes, this was the last one. About Asuric nature we are reading. This is the whole chapter is about Asuric nature mainly. So let's start with mantra. Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tammaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. So we continue this Asuric nature. Aneka chitta vibharanta moha jala samavritaha prasaktaha kama bhogeshu patanti narakeshu chao. Aneka chitta vibharanta. So moving in many different directions of chitta. That very chitta we mentioned in our course on the conscious sleep, that which remembers everything, all the reactions, all gives us all the immediate mechanical reaction to whatever happens in our life. So we are reflecting rather than living. We are not perceiving purely what is going on, but rather through already given a reaction, we perceive the world and ourselves. So aneka chitta vibhranta, with occupied with many egoistic ideas. That's how Shoghan translates. Moha jala samavritah, deluded, addicted to the gratification of desire. Moha jala samavritah, literally covered with the net of moha, of bewilderment or delusion. Doing works, but doing them wrongly, acting mightily, but for themselves, for desire, for enjoyment, not for God in themselves, not God in man and God in man, but for their own gratification. Prasaktaha kama bhogeshu, attached to kama and bhoga, patanti narakeshu chau. They all fall into the unclean hell of their own evil. So the presumption is quite obvious that all this world is the divine world and is made for the divine purpose. And everyone who thinks that it is for him to live here and to enjoy himself is just going in the wrong direction.
Vladimir,
yeah.
Excuse me. The word chitta always sometimes is memory, sometimes is mind, and now chitta is what do you say? What do you say now? It's illusions or
No. Chitta is, I'm taking chitta in the Yoga Sutra style, yes? Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So in this way, and from our course on conscious sleep. So we were looking into subconscious reaction. Everything which comes from subconscious is already fabricated or experienced by us before. Not only by us, but maybe the whole species, the whole evolutionary past, all the experiences, for example, the fire burns, is from chitta. It's not from higher levels of consciousness. It's not. So this experience that fire burns and the knife can cut you and so on and so forth, these fears, reactions to the world, also all the forms of success and enjoyment and pleasure and whatever, and domination are actually predominantly in the chitta. We are mechanical beings. We behave mechanically. Nature leads us through chitta. Nature operates by us. We are like puppets in what storage? Where is the storage of our reaction? How do I know how to raise my hands, raise my voice? Yep. And so on. So everything is somewhere known by me, which I am using as reservoir for my activities. Well, which is using me as the field of its own applications, if you will. Just turn it upside down a bit. That is chitta.
Gita is knowledge learned for survive as a human being, isn't it?
Also, yes, and many more things, many more.
And instincts are included?
Yes, these are instincts there, absolutely. Instincts are those kind of actions of the spirit which took place already somewhere in our memory. Chitta is actually our storage of memory of our past experiences, mainly past.
And this includes the epigenetics or the DNA.
It's constantly changing, yes. Epigenetics is a constant change of our storage, yes, and reactions. So we get new experience, it becomes part of chittas eventually. And so others also, it's like this effect of animals we spoke about, like monkeys or rats, for example. One rat is poisoned and other rats after some time stop eating that food because there is a message somehow sent.
I want to precise if our form is coming from Chitta or is coming from typal worlds.
Well, if we go deeper into the forest, into the jungle, there will be more. We will have to describe the whole thing. Now you introduce another topic of typal worlds and evolutionary worlds. Yeah? So here it's another language which we have to adopt to explain Chitta. Then we may introduce more higher forces, more luminous and darker forces. Yes, and they're also typal, and all forces except the soul are typal forces. Yeah? All of them are who are not evolving, and only soul is evolving and pulls with itself the body to evolve.
Come on.
Hmm?
Oh, I
What?
lost.
You're talking Gita Sri something?
This Adobe Flash just suddenly came into my computer, so I'm just trying to get out.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry to hear that. That Adobe Flash came into your computer somehow.
Here I am.
It's from Chitta somewhere, yes. It knew how to do it. Yes, so all these forces which were experienced by us as evolutionary beings are stored somewhere, and we use them as memory, which is cementing our way to deal with this world without losing much of energy. Because if you are constantly dealing with the world directly without chitta support, yes, you will have to discover the wheel every time. Yeah? So you cannot discover the wheel every time you need the wheel. Yeah? So you have somewhere storage in us, which helps you to use it mechanically, kind of. Not to lose your energy on this invention of everything from the beginning. But, and that is the problem of chitta at the same time, yes? It takes away the sharpness of our perception of ourselves and the world. And to come back to that sharpness, we need to step back from the mechanical reaction to the world and what is happening to us and the world. So we need to come down, chitta, not to believe not to follow it mechanically. So aneka chitta vibrantah, this is a very typical, very good word, mean vibrantah, roaming around in all directions, led by many movements of chitta. So mechanically kind of moving around, not having the perception, the fresh perception, like self-discovery perception, which is not chitta. In that moment of time, there will be a totally different mind or consciousness, which will not be a reaction to something. Reaction will be frozen or pacified, silenced. To silence the mind is actually that, to silence the reaction of chitta. Cool.
Did you heard any time the name of Chitta Manitara is the name of a tantric deity in Buddhism? Chitta Manitara.
Yes, Tara is the goddess of, yes. And mani is a very typical word for Buddhism, as those who studied Buddhism, this. Mani means the jewel. Om Mani Padme Hum, most probably some of you studied this. But let us not go there, in that direction of Buddhism, for now at least. Yes, and chitta in Buddhism may mean slightly different thing, which I cannot comment. I'm speaking from a Hinduism point of view, and from what Sri Aurobindo explains only. And Sri Aurobindo gives this explanation, that chitta determines our reactions. And because of this, I know what is chitta. If Sri Aurobindo would not say this, I would really not know. After he said this and I read it, I saw it everywhere. I saw it in Yoga Sutras. I understood everything immediately. Why Patanjali says that Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. I understood because of Sri Aurobindo, not because of Patanjali. Because what is Chitta? Chitta can be anything. Mind, thought, consciousness, you just name it. Any perception, any sense of being is Chitta. But where from? We didn't know that it was that subconscious formation of our own understanding of ourselves and the world. We didn't have this knowledge. You should be Sri Aurobindo to discover it. So he gave us this, and so we follow it.
Okay.
I tried to exhaust the topic, to mention everything on Chitta, everything I knew. All right. And it is from root chi. I didn't exhaust the topic for linguistic part, from which chit is coming. Chit is consciousness. And so you see, chitta is like PPP, participle perfect tense passive voice from chit. Chit, chetati, and then there is extended chintayati root, and there is the basic root, which is chinoti, chinute, without t, chi. And this chi root is fundamental. It means to focus consciousness, to focus on one point. So any focusing on a particular point away from other points is some kind of action of that consciousness, chit. But chitta is like that which was experienced through focusing, and those memories of focusing were stored somewhere, and now they come back whenever they are needed. So we kind of use that storage of our experience. Yeah, I know because I experienced. You know because you know. Yeah, you heard, you read, you thought about it. All comes into that storage from which you draw those elements for your life and understanding of life. The statistics is a very good example of chitta. We compare with what has happened. We don't compare with something else, what is to happen. And this is actually the major discussion in the, since you already started the topic. Now I will try to exhaust it. Sri Aurobindo, in his dialogue, in his dispute of love and death, in his canto of their dialogue of what they, how do we call it? Not dispute.
In
There is-
Savitri,
Debate?
the debate
the debate of love and death. So this debate, in this debate, you can see that the Lord of Death will be speaking from the Chitta's point of view always. And this is a very good indication. If you now check, if you go to that canto, you will see what a difference. And Savitri will always come from a fresh perception of the divine, which will take into account Chitta, but will not be determined by it, will not be, totally caught by those conclusions of that what has already happened. That makes sense? And for those who know Savitri, it should make totally sense. And by the way, everything is on this ground. You will see how Mother reacts. I was wondering, I was even writing one blog on this. Mother does not care about what is proposed to her to act with. It can be religion, it can be Christianity, it can be Buddhism, doesn't matter. She never judges it by the form. To judge it by the form is Chitta. But she looks what it does, who is there, how he thinks, how is he kind of tuned towards the divine or not. That is much more important for her than whatever the form of that thing. And I was always wondering, such a freedom from judgment of the form, which we always are caught into. But he is this. No, never. She would never say this way. She will. You can be from whatever background, atheist, doesn't matter, Buddhist, Christian. She will take you as you are. Even you can drink wine and smoke cigars and love women and so on. Doesn't matter. She would not be taken by this image. Yeah, that means freedom from Chitta. Now I think I exhausted the point. All right. And then 17. Atma Sambhavita, did we finish? Yes. They fall into this unclean hell of their own evil. Atma Sambhavitah stabdhah, dhana mana madanvitah, yajante nama yajnaihi. Interesting word. Only once met here. Nama yajnaihi. Te dambhena avidhipurvakam. Atma Sambhavitah, they are self-considered, stabdhah, stubborn, we can say. It's a good word to put it here. So basically self-regarding ostentation, But from a self-regarding ostentation, dhana mana madan vitaha, from the vanity and with a stiff and foolish pride. Literally dhana, money, mana, pride, mada, bewilderment, anvitah. They are charged with these forces of wealth, consideration or self-consideration, and mada, carelessness. Yajante nama yajnahi, they offer their sacrifices, but only by sacrifices only in the name, not in reality. In reality, their soul is not there. It doesn't offer. It does the performance. It creates the theater, the facade. It shows off how important it is in trusting and addressing the divine. Dambhena avidhi purvakam, with dambha. Dambha is suppression, or there are better words. So I will read Sri Aurobindo, yes. Stiff and foolish pride, dambhena avidhi purvakam, not in accordance with the law of the world. Avidhi purvakam, not in accordance with dharma of things. So it will be always violating dharmas.
Yeah, isn't damba normally translated as hypocrisy?
Yeah, also, yes. Let's look into this word, because it is Vedic word also, and used many times there. Dambha, it is deceit, fraud, hypocrisy. Yeah, this will not give. Sri Aurobindo translates dambha as how to say, well, we leave it this. I will not go into it now. It will not make you suffer my own.
Does it mean, Vladimir, does it mean stubbornness, stiffness, rigidity?
Also, yes, and suppression, and like trampling over somebody. You kind of dominate someone. You put somebody down. Control. There is another word, dam, from here. Yes, to control damah.
Yes, put
And
pressure on someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So kind of, yeah, it's like yes, subduing someone, making somebody, belittling someone.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because of their vanity.
Right. Sri Aurobindo put it very general, very big translation, from vanity and with a stiff and foolish pride. Pride is a good word also here. It's a kind of domination over others, control over others rather than over yourself. Yeah?
Exactly. We use this word in Bengali. That's how I know it.
Okay.
I mean, that's the meaning.
Maybe that's why Sri Aurobindo gave this interpretation in the Veda.
But yes, that is the meaning. It is to control by suppressing, and due to vanity and pride.
Right. So they are doing the sacrifices with Nama Yajna. Notice the interesting word. He doesn't even translate it. They sacrifice and give not in the true order. That's how he translates. But truly speaking, they Nama Yajnaich by the sacrifices which are only in name. Yeah. They are not in reality any offering. Offerings in name. By the name I offer to you. Yeah. And there are many such offerings nowadays. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha samshritaha mam atma paradeheshu pradishantach abhyasuyakah. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha samshritaha. Literally, they find refuge, or they find themselves comfortable in their ahankara, in their egoism, in the strength, their own strength. Darpa is interesting word. We will come to it more. Kind of power or violence. No. He doesn't translate it here. Darpa is actually madness, but comes from the mirror. When you look into the mirror too much, pride, arrogance, insolence, conceit, mask. But there is another word, darpana, and it's from the same root. And mirror, look at this. And it will tell you something very interesting, what kind of madness it is. You are too much focused on yourself. You're constantly looking how you look, how this fits, how that fits, how you...
Isn't it? Narcissism. Isn't
Yeah, kind of, yes, right. Maybe not to that extent that you're totally, yeah, but close to it. I think it's more like vanity in the surface, on the surface of being, how you look, yeah, your outer behavior, outer presentation. Presentation is more important than you. And we know it's a very common disease nowadays. Everybody wants to look good, to be very presentable to others. Otherwise, you will be judged. So you have to be afraid. So this is darpa. Balam darpam kamam krodham chasam shritach. Kamam, the desire, sexual desire mainly. Krodham, the anger. So in the violence of their wrath and arrogance, they hate, despise and belittle the God, mam, me, atma paradeheshu, in what themselves and other bodies, pradvishantach, hating, abhyasuyakach, they despise or belittle, or complain is another word. Yeah, asuyate, asuyakach, abhyasuyakach. There was Anasuya. You remember Anasuya, lady, who never complained? Anasuya. So I can even find this abhyasuya kind of. These are terms are very psychological and very interesting for us to learn. Why Sri Krishna is using them, yeah. Abhyasuyaka, simply indignant. Only in the Gita, you see, used Bhagavad Gita. Nowhere else, this word. But from the root we know. And then, tan aham dvishatach kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipami ajasram ashubhan asurishu eva yonishu. Those, tan, them, I, them hating, and kruras, literally cruel, you can translate, very harsh and cruel. Samsareshu naradhaman, into samsara, into the wheel of samsara, or wheels of samsara. Naradhaman, the lowest beings among men. Kshipami, throw. Ashubhan, impure. Ajasram, continually. Ashubhan, impure. Asurishu, into the asura yonishu, into the asura's birth, asuric birth. So there are asuric yonis and there are daivik yonis. You can be born in the family of asuras and will be kind of yes, will be educated as the tyrant or some kind of like Putin or someone, dominating others. Or you can be educated as a Daivik person who loves others, helps them, and so on. And so it depends on so much on in which yoni you are born. Maybe yoni here is a bigger name, yeah, not only the family, but maybe also in the formation, which supports your evolution. I think it's rather this second one than just Asuric family, because in the Asuric family, very often we have Daivik beings. Yeah, mother herself married there's Rishar, who was the Asuric being, to keep him close to herself, not to let him go somewhere and do the damage. Better to keep friends close, but enemies closer, as it were. So many times we have the examples of being in the Asuric yonis of the divine beings. So I think it's something else. Most probably it means that they are born into the formation of the Asuric movement. And Sri Aurobindo will describe this. We will read about this here in his footnote. Asurim yonim apanna, and having fallen into the Asuric yoni, mudhah janmani, they bewildered birth by birth, or from birth to birth, reincarnating. Mam aprapya, having not reached me, eva indeed, Kaunteya, or Arjuna, tato yanti adhamam gatim. Thus they go into the lower and lower state of consciousness. And this is something terrible. Huh?
Is there no redemption for the Asura?
Yes, and there is. And Sri Aurobindo will be. You see footnote 1, soul nature, the lowest status of soul nature. That's how he translates. Cast into Asuric wombs, deluded birth after birth, they find me not, as they do not seek me, and sink down into the lowest status of soul nature. And here, this footnote we have to read. This graphic description, even giving its entire value to the distinction it implies, must not be pressed to carry more in it than it means. Yeah? When it is said that there are two creations of beings in the material world, Deva and Asura, it is not meant that human souls are so created by God from the beginning, each with its own inevitable career in nature. Nor it is meant that there is a rigid spiritual predestination, and those rejected from the beginning by the divine are blinded by him so that they may be thrust down to eternal perdition and the impurity of hell. It doesn't mean this. All souls are eternal portions of the divine, the Asura as well as the Deva. All can come to salvation. Even the greatest sinner can turn to the divine. This is again, you see, coming out of away from Chitta. This is not Chitta view. There's a higher view which Chitta doesn't know, cannot really operate with. But the evolution of the soul in nature is an adventure of which Svabhava and the karma governed by Svabhava are ever the chief powers. And if that is yoni, which I was saying, it's a vast meaning of yoni. These are Svabhava, karma governed by Svabhava. And if an excess in the manifestation of the Svabhava, the self-becoming of the soul, a disorder in its play, turns the law of being to the perverse side, if the Rajasic qualities are given the upper hand, cultured to the diminution of sattva, then the trend of karma and its results necessarily culminate not in the sattvic height, which is capable of the moment of liberation, but in the highest exaggeration of the perversities of the lower nature. Sri Aurobindo complicated the issue with words. Many words he has to say just to avoid misunderstanding here. The man, if he does not stop short and abandon his way of error has eventually the asura full born in him. Amazing, yeah? And once he has taken that enormous turn away from the light and truth, he can no more reverse the fatal speed of his course because of the very immensity of the misused divine power in him, until he has plumbed the depths to which it falls. He has to fall to the very bottom of things. Found bottom and seen where the way has led him, the power exhausted and misspent, himself down in the lowest state of the soul nature, which is hell. Only when he understands and turns to the light does that other truth of the Gita come in. Then even the greatest sinner, the most impure and violent evildoer is saved the moment he turns to adore and to follow after the Godhead within him. Then simply by that turn, he gets very soon into the sattvic way, which leads to perfection and freedom. Amazing, yeah? Today I read this and I thought, whoa, this is the thing. So the distinction between the two creations has its full truth in supraphysical planes, those very planes where we try to examine them in those subconscious and subliminal planes, where the law of spiritual evolution does not govern the movement. There are worlds of the devas, worlds of the asuras, and there are in these worlds behind us constant types of beings which support the complete divine play of creation, indispensable to the march of the universe, and cast their influence also on the earth and on the life and nature of man in this physical plane of existence. So they will be trying to influence us, both parties. Yeah? Quite longish passage, but very important for us to understand that this is not given, it's a choice of the soul. And the sooner the soul realizes it, that the Rajasic way of enjoyment is not the way, he will give another very interesting here passage which we must read. But we will read it after a few shlokas, okay? Trividham narakasyedam dvaram nashanam atmanah kamah krodas tatha lobhah tasmat etat trayam tyajet. Trividham, a triple, narakasya idam dvaram, the triple door to the hell. Nashanam atmanach, which is killing the self. Kamach, the desire. Krodhach, the anger. And lobhach, the greed. Tasmat etat trayam tyajet. Therefore, leave these two. One must drop these two. The desire, the anger, and the greed. Well, it's easier to say than to drop them. Yeah? They come all the time as if they are always waiting for their opportunity to pop up. Yeah, I become angry even with with the handle of the fridge, which is not opening, which slipped off my fingers. I can be angry with anything, with the blast of the wind on my face, you know. So I scold the wind. What are you doing? So what to say about the rest? So, and then we will read that very important passage. I want to come to it. Etaich vimuktach kaunteya tamod vaharaich tribhich narach acharat yatmanach shreyach tato yati param gatim. Etaihi, by these vimuktach, liberated. It's interesting that only today I understood why vimuktach or muktach, liberated, is always used with instrumental case. Liberated by them, literally, or with them liberated. And then I understood it's not liberated by them, because we translate liberated from them, yes? But why by them in Sanskrit? Because vimuktach is not liberated, it is released, made free by them. When they release you from their grip, yeah? When you're free from them, so they release you, and released by them, so to say, no more influenced by them. O kaunteya, tamo dvarach, dvaraihi, tribhich narach, by these three gates to hell. Acharat yatmanach shreyach, he does only the best for himself. Tato yati param gatim, and from there he goes to the highest soul status, as Sri Aurobindo translates. Follows his own higher good and arrives at the highest soul status. And for this, the sattvic state is so important, because in sattva, these forces cannot be activated. The forces of evil. It's not possible. It's difficult. They cannot act in the sattvic mind. Amazing, huh? They must create some kind of rajasic boost somewhere. And you can see all those who imitate, you know, these saints and so on. Once in a while, they burst with some kind of anger against the fridge or something. And then, yak shastra vidhim utsrijya vartate kama karatach. Nasa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. And the one, he who, having cast aside the rules of Shastra, Sri Aurobindo will write on Shastra a lot, follows the promptings of desire, attains not to perfection, nor happiness, nor the highest soul status. Now Shastra comes in. Sri Aurobindo starts with Shastra. You remember the whole synthesis and life divine. And he speaks on Shastra as one of the elements of our achievement of liberation or perfection. Why Shastra is important? Because, and he will explain here in this footnote, because it helps the ordinary man, the ordinary consciousness, to find all the tools necessary for building up the true personality which we can discover the divine. Yeah? Because otherwise we don't have instruments. We need the instruments. We need to know how to behave, how to deal with ourselves. And if we are not following it, but following the desire only, whatever I want rather than whatever is needed to do, then we cannot. So discipline is needed, as Mother says. Without the discipline, it's not possible to realize the divine. Simply not possible. You know? Because these forces are clever. They will come in the sheep. The wolf will be in the sheep cover and will seduce you in some way, and then you will discover that you are totally robbed of your energy. And this happens all the time. The moment you want to be natural, to follow your own, spontaneous. Spontaneous is good, but Shastra must be followed. There are certain rules which cannot be easily changed, especially at the beginning. When we reach, Sri Aurobindo will speak about this, when we reach the divine, the situation is changing. Shastra becomes kind of secondary totally. Yeah, we see that it was a tool rather than the aim.
Yeah, so the Shastra is kind of an intermediate guide to get us to the point where we could do Sarva Dharman Parityaja, go beyond those. Yeah.
Absolutely, Sarvam Dharman Parityaja. Yes, exactly that. Shastra literally means instruction. From root shas to instruct. Yeah, amazing. Yeah? It's an instruction. It's not a science of some kind. Of course, it consists of those elements of people who tried before and formulated them in forms of knowledge, which is needed for others to follow.
And Shastra and Dharma are synonymous, or is an analogy?
Dharma is something which you have to follow yourself, so to say. It's inbuilt in the being. Shastra is an instruction from outside what to do to get dharmic, to become dharmic. It's a set of rules, as it were. Yama niyama, for example.
Aren't there really at least two levels of dharma? One is the social dharma, the rules that you're taught to respect elders and not steal, and 10 commandments, and the many less crude, many more refined guidelines of the Sanatana Dharma tradition. But then the higher dharma is that inbuilt thing. The general dharma is social, that applies to everyone in a society, and then the personal dharma is what applies to you. And as I understand Krishna, he's telling Arjuna to go beyond both. That eventually you have to just follow the divine, which will take you the highest good for yourself and others.
Right. Go beyond chitta. Yes. Don't follow any chitta. Now I told you everything. I showed you everything. Now be aware of the divine. That's what Sarvam Dharman Parityaja.
Yeah, but he gives that advice only to Arjuna after he's had the cosmic vision. And it doesn't apply to everyone who thinks, "Oh, my dharma is in Tijuana," and
absolutely,
drugs and all the other obvious crude vices.
Absolutely, it's a very good point. Yes, he gives it only to Arjuna at the end of the Gita, when he gave all the teaching to Arjuna, and Arjuna accepted and agreed to do whatever Krishna wants him to do, under his guidance, totally. Then he tells him that this doesn't matter really. It matters only, it was a tuning instrument of Arjuna towards the divine, and once he's tuned, just follow the divine, because you cannot really follow Shastra now. Shastra is telling you about dharmas. Yes, it is dharmas. Is that what you have to follow in your life? And now even dharmas are actually part of Shastra, as it were. You drop even dharmas because the divine is here.
Can I say
Yes.
something? I had always thought Dharma, though, was the divine's spiritual path for each person. Each person's Dharma is their own spiritual path.
Well, Swadharma, yes.
Is the divine's path for that person. On the highest level, of course.
Right. It depends what dharmas are we talking about. Yeah, there are many dharmas. The whole world is made of dharmas. Because of the dharmas, there are the laws of existence, and the divine can really deal with nature. Can progress and evolve and build up the embodiment for the divine because of these dharmas. Yes, the dharma is not something perfect, yeah, not something final. It's in the particular stage of time very necessary dynamic truth, yeah, manifested in this form of the animal being hungry, eating other animal, yeah. So this is dharma of the animal. What can you do? You don't want to be eaten, but this is dharma of that other animal. So there is a constant contradiction of dharmas. And there are many of them. And we spoke about this the other day, yeah? That we contradict in many dharmas in our life. The dharma of the teacher, the dharma of the student, the dharma of the husband, the dharma of the child, of the, and so on, citizen. So, and your own thoughts about reality may contradict to the dharma of society in which you live. And these contradictions are so obvious, yeah? Especially in modern society. Families are crashing, and so the dharma of the family is falling apart. And what is interesting about dharma, since you already mentioned that somebody asked Krishna why he created such a havoc, such a destruction, such a Kurukshetra where he killed everyone, he said that the shift from one dharma to another was very difficult. So the formation of that institution of dharma and understanding what is right, that I'm the king, that's why I'm right, had to be demolished, fundamentally demolished before new dharma could appear. And this we can't understand because we don't have that vision or that knowledge. Yeah? And there is Swadharma. Swadharma is your own dharma, which belongs to your need of development, yeah, which may contradict all the dharmas in the world.
It's kind of a, for me, it's kind of a happiness to know that the divine is the one that's creating all this chaos and all the situations for a new dharma. It's kind of, I mean, I it just gets to the point where I can't stand to hear about it or read about it or anything. And then to have the Gita say that, that the divine is the chaos, the divine is the havoc and the destruction, is kind of a absolute, I can't say joy. The word
There is joy in destruction of the old dharma, which is dead, which cannot continue, which cannot live. A new dharma is being born. It's a very painful process, but there is a joy hidden in it. Because if you know that the divine is, then you know that can't be otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for this. This is true. It's only Hinduism could dare to acknowledge this, that the dharma is also in destruction.
Yes.
Of the old dharmas. So that's why Sarvan Dharman Parityajya. That's why, yeah? Because they are also a tool, tools for building up. These are the steps of evolution, as it were. But they all pass. They all pass away. They cannot stay. Some of them may stay, Sanatana Dharma, constant evolution, constant growth of the divinity within. This is the Sanatana Dharma, eternal Dharma. Why there's Sanatana Dharma and other Dharmas, yes? Because there's something true in every development, and that has to be recognized. It's amazing, which does not belong to subconscious chitta storage, which is constantly changing it, pushing it forward, bringing new force, always fresh, unknown path, as Mother says. I invite you all for this adventure. I do not know what is waiting for us in the future, but I promise you the adventure. So that's how she speaks.
Wonderful.
All right. I wanted to go to this, but this is a longish quotation. Maybe we will leave it for the next time because there are a few more shlokas and this beautiful understanding of Shastra. We must read Shastra because in chapter 17, we will come back to Shastra again. What is this instruction and why it is important as a kind of toolbox for us in this particular stage. Right. Okay. So maybe we stop here. If you have something to say, please go ahead. And so we will close or want to share some thoughts on this topic. We go slow, yes? We could go faster.
I want to say something about the Asuric Devas and Asuras. And I was reading in the letters of yoga, the Asuras and Devas as well are coming from the typal worlds, but
Yes.
they are using Purusha and Prakriti. And I thought they are not conscious. And now I understand they have to have Purusha. Is Purusha the same meaning like how we are using consciousness?
Yes. Purusha is actually equals consciousness.
Then what I understand is consciousness has the give us the opportunity to evolve, isn't it?
Right. It builds up the instruments for its embodiment, yes, through Prakriti.
Then I find a contradiction, because if Asuras have consciousness, and if you have consciousness, you have the chance to evolve, why the Asuras are not evolving beings?
The worlds in which they live, Devas, Asuras, Rakshasas, Paishachas, the worlds in which they live, it's like you live without a body. Can you evolve without the body?
Then the question of evolving is matter. If you have matter, you can evolve.
Absolutely. And not only matter, matter on earth, earthly matter, earthly body. So there is this kind of occult knowledge from the mother. If mother would not say this, we would never know why earth is so important. Because only on earth we can evolve and change, and only through material embodiment. If matter is not involved, you cannot evolve. You will be staying in the same formation of energy.
And this is included for the evolution of the consciousness.
Consciousness and being.
Okay, the evolution of the consciousness needs matter on earth.
Right, it needs being. Otherwise, consciousness will not evolve. It will stay in its own modality.
Okay, like a dream.
Like a dream, yeah. It can modify itself. It's very fluid. It can change shapes. It can combine with other forces, but it will never be able to change really its own vibration, its own quality, its own characteristic. It needs the physical embodiment in the physical body. And in that sense, it acquires the psychic presence, that psychic quality, that projection of Purusha it needs for evolution. And with that presence, it can change. Without it, it cannot change.
I think now we can use again the word Dharma. I think it's because Dharma, you have established point to flow. If you don't have any established point, you can't move yourself. Dharma in the sense of stable.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. It's true. Dharma is from root dhri, to hold. It holds to a particular type of involvement or type of energy which is needed to be exhausted on the way to higher consciousness. So it becomes a step.
Yeah. You can put your foot in a step, you can do the next step.
Right. You can move to a next dharma.
Stable, yes. Nothing is stable. You are flying like a dream.
Right.
Losing in the mental and the vital.
Right. Dharma is the result of both, of the dynamic truth acting upon this inconscience or darkness. Yeah. And because on this interaction, there is some kind of formation needed for us to evolve. And that's what we call dharmas. There are no dharmas without the manifestation. There will be no dharmas. Even Purusha will be not there without manifestation. And Prakriti definitely not. So everything, Purusha and Prakriti together build the dharma. The way of being in time and space.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, good. We kind of dig into dharma and so on. And there are many thoughts of this kind which are coming. And of course, we can come to Buddhism and see how Buddhism treats dharma. For Buddhism, it's the major thing, dharma, but they take it in the highest sense. Yeah? Dharma, which upholds all as it is. Or it is not, as it is not all. All right, great. Let us then stop here for today and close with mantra and continue next time. Om Sarve Bhavanto Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. But somehow Jayashri is coming to my mind. She wanted to say something. Yes, Jayashri, on the Dharma and Buddhism, no? No?
We'll keep it for next time. Nothing really important. Thank you, though.
It was when I was doing mantra, I felt your kind of presence so strong. I thought you wanted to say something. Yeah? Okay. Okay. And yeah, namaste.